Good evening and welcome to Your Right to Know by the Central Massachusetts Conservative PAC. My name is Mary Lotze and I will be your co-host for this evening's show. In introducing everyone on the table tonight, we have some new co-hosts to introduce you to and some new panelists. So I will get right with it. First, I want to introduce my friend and co-host for the last maybe 10 years, Andrew Couture, and our new co-host, Rebecca Connors from Westminster. Then we have potential co-host and panelist Abigail Trott and Caleb Silvestri. Welcome all of you to Your Right to Know and joining us tonight. We're really kicking off a new show tonight. Last month I kind of gave you a little hint and talked about the fact that we're no longer sponsored, Your Right to Know is no longer sponsored by the Fitchburg Republican City Committee. It's now going to be sponsored by the Central Massachusetts Conservative PAC. And there's some reasons for that, and that's because a year ago, Andrew and I were ready to give up Your Right to Know. We'd been doing it for 12 years, and it was getting a little daunting with our schedules. You in court so many times and couldn't make it. And what happened was one of our homeschool mothers, who's a member of the Fitchburg Republican City Committee, came to us and said, I have a plan. To which we said, what's that? And she said, I would like to suggest that the technical crew of Your Right to Know be taken over by homeschool students in the junior and senior high school equivalency grades. And we said, well, that would be great. And she says, but it means you need to stay on another year. So Andrew and I did it, and this has been quite a year, and we've loved every minute of our opportunity of doing this. But Andrew, as you know, and our panelists know, this is probably my last show. I'm relocating out of the state of Massachusetts and moving to different pastures. I won't say greener pastures, but I'll just say different pastures. So, Andrew, let's just briefly, for just a couple of minutes, talk about Your Right to Know and how we started this show.
It's been a long, well over 10 years, because you started this back in 2012?
2012.
And that was because we were so disappointed at the election of Barack Obama.
For the second time.
For the second time. And I remember speaking to you about this, and you know, I was getting active in politics at that time, and I joined up and became
you sure did.
Became a panelist at first, and then a host.
And then a host, and that was a welcoming for me, because you know, as you know, doing hosting permanently for month after month, I don't know, I always think of Barbara and you, and my hat's off with full respect to that woman for doing her show for so many years. You really have to keep your topics current. You have to have a bevy of people out there willing to come on your show, and you have to keep yourself current in what's going on. And God knows you can't take a schedule because the show must go on, so you can't take a vacation unless you have backup. And Andrew's been a wonderful backup support for me through all those years. And yes, we did do it because we thought at that time when Barack Obama, after 4 years of watching him in action, we thought he was really bringing a very progressive, moving towards socialist agenda to the federal government. And little did we know how really prescient we were at that time in making that decision, because just look at where we are now with the likes of Mandami and AOC and Bernie Sanders.
Mayor Wu.
Mayor Wu. The Democrat Party is no longer the party that I grew up in. I started out as a Democrat, Irish Catholic, you know, Kennedy Democrat with my family. The Democrat Party bears no longer a resemblance to that. We've marched over the last 16 years, or not quite 16 years, but 10 years, we've galloped to socialism, and it's overt.
I agree. In fact, I was just like you. I was a Democrat, you know, when I was younger, and you know what they say: if you're a Democrat when you're young, if you're not a Democrat when you're young, you have no heart. If you're a Democrat and you're older, you have no brain. So I think my
or
brain
you have
finally,
no pocketbook. Let's put it that way.
So I think my brain finally developed, and I saw the error of my ways. So.
Law school did that to you. Maybe.
Yeah, you could attribute it to that. Yes.
And maybe parenthood, because, like I said, we don't have to worry about our wallets any longer. So as we kick off tonight and giving you a little bit of our background of Your Right to Know, the Central Massachusetts Conservative PAC decided that we would keep the name of the show. They liked the name of the show. They said it absolutely is Your Right to Know. We believe in free speech. We believe in the Constitution, the First Amendment, and absolutely people have a right to know different opinions, and we have the right to express our opinions. It's up to you to take that to the voting booth when you go at election time in November or any other special elections during the year. So right now I'd like to turn to our new permanent host or co-host, and that's Rebecca Connors from Westminster. Hi, Rebecca.
Hey, Mary. Mary has been such a leader and such a role model. We're so lucky to have had her, and I'm so glad for the relationship that I have with Mary. And the legacy of this show is just amazing. I definitely, just like Jessica, would not want it to end. So thank you, Andy, for keeping it going. The new idea that we have is having homeschool children producing the show. And I love the idea of that because we have to get young people involved in politics. I've always had an interest in politics. After the 22 election, we had found out that the Baker PAC had donated money to Democrat.
And that's the Charlie Baker
Charlie
PAC,
Baker PAC.
Republican governor of Massachusetts for 2 terms.
He donated money to Democrat candidates running against Republicans, and that really was a moment for me where I got very upset. And I said, we need to fight back, or at least we have to have representation. We need some kind of voice. I love this show because part of the mission of the PAC is advocacy and also education. I think the whole country right now is lacking in civics education. So we would like to explore topics about how the state government works and also certain roles within government. We'd like to talk about maybe what the Massachusetts Treasurer does, Attorney General, and things like that. So.
And just to let our viewers know, we do have potential other co-host to be with you. Andrew will potentially stay on periodically and co-host shows with you. And Josh Bowdridge, who is on the school committee in the city of Leominster, and he's actually the chairman of the Central Massachusetts Conservative PAC, and he will be a co-host.
Yeah, we are very, very happy to have Josh join us, and he has some new ideas and possibly different types of media, maybe even moving into podcast interviews. So it's all very exciting.
We're moving, and I love our opening, AI driven. So how can you? We really stepped off into the 21st century, midway or quarter way through. So, would you like to take over and start introducing our young talent tonight? So
today on our panel we have a couple of the students that help produce the show, and I will tell you, in my eyes, these kids are amazing. This is Abby. Would you like to please introduce yourself and tell us what you do on the show?
Oh, okay. My name is Abigail. I'm a senior in high school, so this will maybe be my last, few times helping out the show. But I've mainly done camera work and just helping get the set up at the beginning of the shows.
Yeah. So now this is the third time that you've been on this side as a panelist. What do you think you like better?
I kind of like just listening and not having to whenever I've been on camera, which is 99% of the time, I've always been, usually been engaged in the conversations, and I've learned a lot of stuff just from filming it.
Yeah, no, you can tell. And I mean, you're just only from here, you're going to grow more. So we're welcome to always have you. And then, were you nervous ever in front of the camera? Maybe your first time?
It was the setup that we had was it was me and Mary across from each other and someone in between us. So it kind of did just feel like we were having a conversation with each other. When you're on like a panel, it's a little more intimidating because everybody's like, it's not as if like you're around a table.
Yeah, no, I understand. And then right next to Abby, we have Caleb. Caleb, would you please introduce yourself?
So my name is Caleb Silvestri, and I've been helping out with just like the cameras and just other things with the production for the past couple of months. And it's been just a lot of fun doing it and learning how the equipment works.
It's really wonderful, and it's a great opportunity. So I've heard that now you've been with the show for a whole year.
Yeah.
That's really amazing, so 12 months. You also do this, your mother was explaining to me that you help with production. Is it at your church also?
Yeah, I help with slide projection at my church every couple Sundays.
You're going to have such an advantage over other students if you ever do decide to get into the television field. Do you feel comfortable on this side?
Somewhat. It's a little new being on this side of it because I normally see it from from behind the cameras when helping film.
Usually you're not even seeing it directly or seeing it through the lens.
It's fun to be part of the conversation.
Yeah, no, that's good, and we value what you have to say. But also, what do you think, in this whole production is your favorite job?
So far, I like working the cameras a lot and just like setting them up and getting to listen to everybody talk while we're filming.
Yeah, it's good when you have a final end product that you're proud of. It's good to be a part of that.
So, Abigail, Caleb, what topics would you like to bring to the show? And hearing from conservative teenagers, which is a rarity, what topics do you think our viewers might like to be interested in hearing about?
I think like the topics, like the time we brought like the sheriff on who's running for governor, I think topics like that are interesting because just hearing from people running like why they want to and not just like it's more personal just because it's a smaller down thing than like them going around the entire state and going to these massive like crowds and larger shows.
So would you like to bring like the candidates for governor who are running, currently running? Okay, all right.
And we actually have, next month, will be a candidate, and that's John Deaton, who's running for U.S. Senate.
Yeah, that would be
I
great.
mean, this is a perfect year to kick off shows. One that is almost sad that I'm leaving because I enjoyed the candidates. I understand where you're coming from because you really get to know them, not like many of our viewers get to know them just seeing them on a TV, but you get to interact with them and meet them and hear them like they're speaking to you personally.
Yeah, I mean, getting them behind the camera on our show helps them with their publicity too. So it's just all a net positive.
Andrew and I remember back when we first started our show, we would bring on first-time young candidates, oftentimes that were running for office, and it was their first time ever to do something like this. And they valued this because it gave them the opportunity to then go before maybe a Boston market on the WCVB and FSB and Fox local Boston, and it was giving them the first time to sit in front of a studio and actually speak to cameras. So we were sort of a resource even for them back in the day.
So, Abigail, what do you think? What kind of topics would you like to bring to the table?
Well, I just thought of as we were speaking, like maybe some sort of things where the viewers would be able to interact more. I mean, like right now we only have once a month shows, and even that is, a commitment. But maybe like even like getting out there, like and like interacting with viewers, maybe getting them on the television too. Also, sort of with recent news with like the Community Act and stuff, maybe like analysis of the Constitution and recent bills or stuff that's trying to be passed, because some of the stuff, they purposely make the bills like 500 pages long. Who's going to like read all that? I mean, I'm grateful for the people who do, because they point out stuff to the rest of us. So maybe some just like educational pieces on just like our basic rights, and even like past our basic rights, to things that we people in government try to put over our heads. Because I forget who said it. It was one of like the founding fathers, I believe, but that like informed people, like when the people have knowledge, that's their power.
That's very true. That's very true. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, there's a lot of things like that they just throw on us. Like, in fact, we did a show on it. The Chapter 135, the new gun bill.
Yeah.
You know, we did a show about
several
that.
shows, yes.
Yeah, and that was just something that they didn't care what the average gun owner or what people thought about it. They said, this is what's best for you. This is what's going to happen. Yeah. And you had no say in it. But thank people that took the initiative. And now it's going to be on the ballot. So we get to vote on, whether or not 135 stays. So that's going to be an important subject to bring up, to keep bringing it up, because it is going to be on the ballot, and it's one of our fundamental rights.
Yeah. We could even do like a show like about the things that are going to be on the ballot, things you need to know, like, because sometimes they go through little loopholes and make it a little discreet.
Well, a prime example of what's on the ballot, or I don't think this is on the ballot, it was on the ballot, and it was supported by 74% of the voting public, was the audit the legislature. And this was a case that 74% of the voters said, we want the legislature audited. It passed, and now we're how many months? 14, 16 months later. And our government, our Attorney General Andrea Campbell and our Governor Maura Healey will not, as well as our Senate President and our, what's the term, our House legislator, will not allow the legislature to be audited. Now that's criminal to me. We spoke clearly, loudly, and they will not allow the legislature.
Well, imagine what would be uncovered, because with so much is being found as fraudulent SNAP benefits.
Yes.
Imagine what getting into the legislature, what they'd find.
Well, and look what's happened in Minnesota. Thank you. Look what's happened in Minnesota and what they're finding with daycare. Money has gone everywhere. In Massachusetts, during COVID, and then followed up during the immigration situation we had just a year ago, that money was going into the wrong hands to keep some of these rich and powerful richer and more powerful, as we put immigrants up in hotels, shelters, Logan Airport, you name it. Money was washing through the taxpayers' fingers on that.
It was kept out of our reach and our sight, and it was never something that they were being held accountable to.
No.
And that is important for people. Our tax money, we want to know where it's going and that it's being spent in the best way. I think that seems like common sense.
And when we don't see basic need, like when they say they don't have funds for basic needs, it's like, well, where's all the money going?
Where's all the money going?
Right.
That's the $64,000 question. Now, Caleb, I know you've taken cameras out on the street, or that is one of the things that you would like to do. And it would be very interesting to do something like that, and to at some of our large festivals and Fitchburg Street Civic Days and things like that, and ask people, What do you think about auditing the legislature? And do you realize that 74% of the people voted to audit, but the government will not allow? I bet you any money, so many of our viewers out there have no idea of what's really going on about the guns and that arbitrary decision that at that time AG Maura Healey just imposed on people to take away their gun rights. And then followed up by this bill that you're talking about. And then also the auditing the legislature. Where's the money going? People have no idea. I would bet you if you went around and surveilled people with the cameras, that's what you would find.
Yeah, I think that would be an interesting, like, that would be a fun thing to do, and just like put together like a video of just a ton of interviews of people's opinions on it.
Yeah.
And then you get the practice of, editing also. And then it's even more creativity to make a final product out of just being the man on the street. So that's all great education.
And the opportunities for people to just at home, like free resources to make content is like amazing. The depth of things we have access to nowadays.
You know, I can't remember who I was speaking to. I think it was one of our homeschool mothers, and I was saying I was amazed to see your really casualness in speaking before cameras, because I know when I had an opportunity to be on Barbara and Yu's show, maybe 30 years ago. I was petrified. I mean, my heart, I think the viewers could see my chest moving up and down. My heart was beating so hard as I was on her show. And she said, now that everyone makes TikTok videos, you're so used to being in front of cameras. I never thought of that. It is an entirely new opportunity or generation that's really being comfortable in front of cameras. You know, from the time you were born, your parents were probably running around with a video camera, which, you just sort of grew up in front of cameras. And now you're actually, through TikTok, being in front of cameras speaking. So I think that may make it a little easier, because you certainly both are very relaxed, as Ben was last month. And he told me he was nervous. I said, I wouldn't have known it. I didn't know it. I wouldn't have known it. Let me just ask you about your conservative youth. What makes youth, you, and all your friends, conservative? Because that's not the way society is nowadays. You're certainly swimming against the tide when it comes to that. Do you feel, you're very comfortable in your conservative values. You don't seem to have to argue with people about your conservative values. You're very proud of your values. Could you explain a little bit about youth and conservatism?
So I feel like some of it is just seeing what's been going on like the past decade, with how just chaotic things have been getting.
So that's an awareness of what's going on in the world, which a lot of youth don't have.
Yeah, but just in America alone, with all with Biden's term and stuff, and that whole mess.
So you actually grew up and looked at that.
Yeah, just how chaotic, and you could see just things were just falling apart.
I think your generation was also very impacted by the COVID virus.
Yes.
And there's still fallout from that. We don't even really know the repercussions that are still going to be revealed.
Well, certainly in education. In education of anything. Where you couldn't go to school, you were sitting home in front of a computer. Your whole little social world as young people was really devastated overnight.
I've heard, though, that it wasn't entirely negative effects, because if you think about it, in America, corporate America, especially up here in the Northeast, we're all over the place. We're doing this, we're doing that. You sit down, maybe once with your family to eat dinner, then go back to what you're doing, if you even sit down together. That's one of the things I value, my family. And this actually, you were maybe for some people being stuck with their family would drive you crazy. But I remember seeing a study that my mom showed me that stress levels actually went down because people were with their families, and there's definitely less stress from school and all that stuff.
I think of language arts and emotional learning and responsiveness wearing the mask. They said children learning the language, they couldn't see people's faces and mouths voicing certain things. They couldn't see expressions like of pleasure, of happiness, of concern, of question. Those myriad of facial expressions that we do without even thinking when we're in the middle of conversations or when we're learning things. We were all masked up. So all of that, we were blind to all of that.
Yeah, there's actually been studies that show that the kids that are in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade right now are extremely far behind of where their older peers or even their younger peers would be at this point in time because of the school shutdowns, because of COVID, and my youngest daughter is in 6th grade. There are noticeable issues. Noticeable
you have
differences.
that ability to compare your two children.
Yeah.
One that was through that before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, gang, guess what?
That went by so fast.
It goes by so fast, and our conversation was very good. I appreciate your input and your insight because certainly I'm the oldest on this panel, but with Rebecca and Andrew, we and our viewers don't always see things through the eyes of teenagers, and this is a valuable look-see at what's happening in life. So, for my last time tonight, I am going to sign off, and I want to thank you all for sitting in tonight with the Central Massachusetts Conservative PAC and Your Right to Know. To learn more about the Central Massachusetts Conservative PAC, we do have a Facebook page, aptly named Central Massachusetts Conservative PAC, or CMCPAC. And we just want you to know that the Central Mass Conservative PAC still holds the same values. We stand for growth, opportunity, and prosperity for all people, and we will always stand for freedom. Thank you and good night.
People reaching goals that help us thrive. We'll encourage better vision to make us strong and wise. America, we stand for freedom.